So Belshazzar's on vacation, so what I and I'm hijacking the service again. I'm here. But I was thinking about today. Warren and I were playing music back a couple months ago before this morning, and part of what we were going to do was I call it old school praise and worship. Uh, don't know praise and worship, and it's okay. I'm going to introduce you anyway. So we're going to go old school praise and worship to newer praise and worship to something like a hip style praise and worship. So if that's okay, we'll just join in. Again, it's not a concert, so I'm going to hear y'all sing. Y'all. Uh, I want to hear you singing loud. So that's what I'm hoping today. This will be a time that will prepare us to worship. And we're going to start with what is come now as a time to worship. If we're here probably 20, 30 years ago when they used to have a praise and worship service, I remember that was one of the first that the praise band shared in this space. So that's what tonight or this morning is about. It's about worship. It's about coming together and worship. And like Warren said, it's so easy to get distracted right now. And but in this time, this space, we're called to come and worship. Come, now is the time to worship. Come, now is the time to give your heart. Come, just as you are to worship. Come, just as you are before your God. Come. One day every tongue will confess you are God. One day every knee will bow. Still the greatest treasure remains for those who gladly choose you now. Come, now is the time to worship. Come, now is the time to give your heart. Come, just as you are to worship. Come, just as you are before your God. Come. Willingly we choose to surrender our lives. Willing our knees will bow down. Will our heart, soul, mind, and strength we gladly choose you now. Come, now is the time to worship. Come, now is the time to give your heart. Come, just as you are to worship. Come, just as you are before your God. Come, come, just as you are. Come, come. You know, today, as Warren said, we're trying to pause to be still, and the hope is as we slow down, we'll come to see God for who God is. And my hope is that, myself included, that we'll pause and remind ourselves the importance of being still. This is a song that, you know, for us on the Huntington side, it was a song that got us through COVID. And I think when I first had to fill in, when I first came here, it was a song that I shared. So I'm hoping it's familiar. And if you listen to contemporary music, it should be somewhat familiar. So it's medium old school. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You're what? You're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. You're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You're a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Let me see. So when I was thinking about this morning, preparing for today, taking the music aside, my brain went to running. I know many of you know I like to run. I've run many races, but when I was thinking about today, I was thinking particularly about a certain race, a race I'd done years ago. Actually, it's back in 2008. It was the New York Marathon, and there I was that day. For anybody who knows anything about the New York Marathon, it's big, lots of people. So I was with 40,000 of my closest friends running that day. And at the beginning of the race, there's this massive wave of people, or should I say, massive waves of people. There are 5 groups of 8,000 people. So you guys, anybody ever done the drumstick dash? You've seen the drumstick dash. There were 8,000 people this last Thursday. So you got to put this in perspective. Here, the New York City Marathon, you've got 5 groups of 8,000 people all converging together at the same time. In fact, we're running together for the next 26.2 miles, and I don't ever remember anybody being more than an arm's length away from me. And so, even if I wanted to stop, which I didn't, I don't think stopping would have been possible. It's like they were just moving me forward. And I share that because, like, he was sharing at the beginning of the service, that's how I think sometimes life is like. It's like we're, sometimes I feel like even now I'm in a race each day, and maybe you do as well. It's like there's all these outside influences that are just pushing and pulling us and moving us along. And even if we wanted to stop, it's like we couldn't stop. Maybe you're there too. To the point that I know in my case, sometimes I don't appreciate all that's going on, and maybe you don't not only appreciate what's going on, but I'm afraid that what happens as well is that sometimes we just miss out on what's going on around us. And sometimes that might even mean we miss out on growing in our relationship with God. And can you imagine that? Not having enough time just to grow in your relationship with God. But I want you to think about this. That's where I want us to get our mind today. For example, I feel for young parents, especially for young parents, like you're pulled in so many directions, and it's often not because of you, it's because of your children. You know, it's not just school activities, but the activities that take place in the school. And then you've got those that do travel team sports and so many other interests. It's like, how do you work your calendar around their calendar? And for parents, it's like they often like they got no time at all to rest. And if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. You just probably look forward to when you can have some time to rest. Now, I'm not a parent of a young child anymore, but I think about sometimes, I'm going from pastoring to coaching to pastoring, and then I'm trying to find time to fit in family and friends. And I used to brag about that, and we pick on each other about it sometimes. I used to say I'm really efficient with my time, and I used to say if I could just squeeze, or I could squeeze as much into a 24-hour day as possible. But now what I'm coming to find is over time when you do this, you get out of rhythm. I've come to find now recent years, especially last year, it's just not healthy. This business of slowing down is not healthy. And if you're thinking you can't relate because you may not work except 2 jobs or you may not have young kids, but even if you're retired, I hear people that are retired are saying, I don't know how I can do what I'm doing when I was working because now I'm retired and I find myself busier than I was ever before. So maybe you're there. I was preparing for day and I read this article that the BBC had put out, and it spoke on this. And it said, while we may not be busier than we were before in our workplace, because in our workplace they admitted we are more efficient than we were ever before. But they said, still, the truth is, we are busier than we were. Even if we're more efficient at work, we are busier than we were ever before. Because even if we have more free time, our free time is filled up. The point that we're so busy. So think about this. Even if you don't have kids or grandkids pulling you in what might seem to be 100 different directions, still we find ourselves busier. And often, I don't know about you, I find myself accomplishing less than I ever did before. Because we're constantly filling ourselves up with our free time being less full than ever it was before. And often what we're filling our free time with is not always that productive. You think about that thing that's strapped to the end of our hand. It's that sometimes we panic attack when we don't have it with us, our cell phones. Our cell phones, it's like, have you ever found yourself, this is not a time of confession, but you ever found yourself you're not busy? And what's the first thing you do when you're not busy? You look at your phone. Yeah, you look at your phone. We as Americans, and I think this is a low number, but it says we as Americans spend on average 4 hours, 25 minutes a day on our cell phone. I mean, you can look at your screen time if you got an Apple phone today. You can see how far off you are. But that means that we as Americans, we're spending over 2 months, 2 months every year on our cell phone. 2 months, 2 months. Even when there should be downtime, some time to be still, we rob ourselves of. Now, I know some of us might feel uncomfortable with silent time. I know for me, those that know me, there was a time I went through, I could not have downtime. I mean, it wasn't that long ago I felt like I had to work, I had to keep busy, so I just wouldn't think. So I just filled up my time working. But looking back, I think I got into an unhealthy rhythm. Looking back, that was not only unhealthy physically, it's not healthy spiritually as well. Because I could have been using some of that time, and instead of filling up my time, I could have been using that time to draw closer to God, for strength or for healing or guidance through those dark times. And how I justified it to myself was, well, I'm doing a church job. I mean, I'm getting religion in there, I'm getting some church stuff done. But the truth is, even doing church stuff doesn't mean that we're really spending quality time with God. We're not spending quality time being still. I mean, that being still part is hard. In fact, that being still part is still hard. But it's not healthy. Not physically, and not spiritually. And guess what? Scripture says we need to be still. We need to be still. We need to take time to be still. In the words of the psalmist, from Psalm 46, verse 2, God says, be still, know that I am God. I'll be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth. So I appreciate you have this in front of us. Because if you're paying attention, God doesn't say, this is stepping on my own toes, those who know me. God doesn't say, think about being still. God doesn't say, if it fits into your schedule, be still. Instead, God says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. And think about where we are now. You said we've been in the Christmas season, and I think that is truly correct. We are now entering to what I believe is the busiest time of the year. So that whole being still part, that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, think about it. Friday, I was not here Friday. Those who know me, I was in Williamsburg, and the people that took me to Williamsburg, she's a shopper, so she wanted to go shopping at the outlet malls before we went to Busch Gardens. So we pull in. After we finally got into the parking lot, which was about 30 minutes waiting out on the highway to get into the parking lot, but there was no parking. So we just dropped his wife. And he just drove in the parking lot burning gas because there was no parking at all. But it's not just the shopping. It's the whole decorating at home, or like you said, here at church, they'll be cooking, baking, wrapping. And then if you're a parent and you're trying to fit in everything else around this, it's tough to be still. And it's not even Advent yet. I mean, we're about to enter, like you said, this coming Sunday. We're going to spend time, this thing called Advent, preparing us for Christmas, preparing us for the comings of Christ. And it's like we're in this massive race. And if we weren't busy before, well, we are now. So that's why I think that image of the New York Marathon was in my brain. It came to mind. It's all this stuff going on around us, all this stuff that's just moving us along. And yet still, here in the life of the church. Next Sunday, we're going to start this thing called Advent. A time where we should be setting up time to remember, celebrate the comings of Christ. And the question is, will we? Will we take time to be still? Will we take time during what's coming up to be still, to focus on what we should? Or are we just going to roll right through it and not take notice? Not take time as God desires to be still. To be still. And as God says, to know that I am God. A few years ago, Liz Auld, she's the managing editor of a Christian website. It's called crosswalk.com. And she wrote this article. And the article is entitled, What Does Be Still and Know That I Am God Really Mean? And in it she said, I'm going to summarize because it's a long article and I'm not going to read to you what would take probably an hour. But I'm going to summarize and we'll try to do justice to it. But in the article, she touched on how Psalm 46, verse 10, it's popular for comforting ourselves and others. I mean, heck, even my mom, a month ago, she gives me this card. She said, Jeff, someone gave this to me, but I think you need it more than I do. And it's a reminder, be still and know that I am God. So I took it home and I did put it near my bed. But she said, you need this. And she said, people often read this verse like my mom did. And she says it's people tend to see the verse only as a reminder to rest and relax in who God is. And yes, the verse does call us to reflect on who God is, but there's more to the psalm in this one verse. Because actually, that verse, it's a wake-up call. A wake-up call to be in awe. Awe. It's more of a call to be in awe than a gentle call to rest. Again, be still and know that I am God. Be still, know that God, I will be exalted among the nations. See, it's a call to be in awe. Be still, know that I am God causes us to pause and reflect. It reminds us that God is still in control no matter what happens in our lives, even and especially those times of trouble, those times that might seem where we find ourselves battling with this thing called life. Be still. Because when we take time to be still and connect with our faith, we can find peace, even in the midst of the chaos. We can even, when we pause and be still, we can in that moment be thankful for what we have and remember how God can even bring good out of the trials. When we pause and be still, we can use that time to pray and to ask for guidance and strength. But like all in her article, she reminds us being still isn't always easy. It isn't easy. I told you I struggle with it. Maybe you do too. And maybe it's not only because what you do, but it's because all the other stuff going on around you. But she said, if we take time to be still, it can be enriching. If we take time to be still, we can be thankful and remind ourselves how God is always with us. And yes, while she goes on and shares how there's many misunderstandings of this verse, I loved it. She offered up this image. She said how her pastor, a former pastor of hers, reminded that how Jesus, in the calming of the storm, when he told the storm to be still, she said that's what God invites us into through the words of the Psalms. In fact, to help us with that, picture this. Let's go to Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 39. Picture this. It says, that day, when evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, let's go over to the other side. So leaving the crowd behind, they took Jesus along. And when Jesus was in the boat, there were also others in the boat with him. And this furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? Jesus got up, he rebuked the wind, said to the waves, quiet, be still. The wind died down, and it was completely calm. See, Auld said, when Jesus said to the waves, be still, she said that's what God is inviting us to in that image through the words of the psalmist. It's like the psalmist, through God, is saying, inviting us to let the storms of our life, all the chaos that's going on around us, to be silent. When we do, we can be in awe of who God is. In fact, had we continued on in Mark's Gospel, chapter 4, we would have heard the disciples, they were in this conversation, and they are truly in awe of what has taken place around them. How this one they had witnessed who could teach and heal could also control nature and calm the storms. All of this taking place in the moment with the invitation, be still. You see, I'm coming to see, and I think we spend time with it as well. I believe that when we are still, we can draw our thoughts to the one who is the creator, the one who controls nature, is also our healer and our sustainer. When we are still, we can be in awe that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all those that we spent months looking at the church, this God of those in the past is our God as well. And this God still brings us hope and joy and peace and life and so much more. In fact, when we are still, we can be in awe that we worship one who promises us strength even in the midst of the storms and the trials and the darkest of hours. But we won't see it or recognize it if we're not still. I share on this. Like Warren said, I touched on next Sunday is Advent. The world around us has already started its race, but for us here, it's Advent. And while the world around us might be busting butt to get ready for Christmas, I invite us, myself included, here in this space, when we come together, to at least carve out time when we're in worship, to be still. To use this time that we're gathered to be intentional, to take time, like a time out in the midst of all the hustle and bustle that's going on around us. Taking a time out here to be still and get to know God. Do not just create, but still says to the storms of our lives, be still. Be still and know that I am God. Come on. Pray. As we sing this song, you're thinking, I know this hymn, especially been in worship in church for a while, but uh, I'm going to hijack it slightly with Carrie Joe's permission. I'm going to teach you the chorus, and then we'll do the song. Is that okay? So in the chorus, it's you I rest, in you I find my hope, in you I trust. You'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. Elizabeth, can you give me that one? Huh? The chorus part of it. Did we lock up? We've locked. So sad. Anyway, I'm going to teach you it this way. So, it's in you I rest, in you I find my hope, in you I trust, you'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. Here's it again. In you I rest, in you I find my hope, in you I trust, you'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. And if the PowerPoint doesn't work, that's okay. Then we're going to use this as an invitation to be still. Be still, my soul. The Lord is on thy side. Bear patiently the cross of grief or pain. Leave to thy God to order and provide. In every change, he faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, thy best, thy heavenly friend. Through thorny ways, keep me to joyful end. Be still, my soul, thy God doth undertake to guide the future as he has the past. Thy hope, thy confidence, let nothing shake. All now mysterious shall be bright at last. Be still, my soul, the waves and winds still know his voice who ruled them while he dwelt below. In you I rest, in you I find my hope, in you I trust, you'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul, be still, my soul, the hour is hastening on, when we shall be forever with the Lord. When disappointment, grief, and fear are gone, sorrow forgot, love, purest joy restored. Be still, my soul, when change and tears are past, all safe and blessed, we shall meet at last. Be still, my spirit, rest, yeah. In you I find my hope, in you I trust, you'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul, one more time. In you I rest, in you I find my hope, in you I trust, you'll never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. Be still, my soul. Be still, my soul. my hope, my prayer, myself included. I said, we'll take this as the call to be still. My hope is that it will take place in this space when we gather and worship. But my hope, my prayer is it will take it beyond this space and model something differently in the world around us. We'll invite Blend up to sing our blessing for us. And then go in peace.
God be with you till we meet again. By his counsel's guide uphold you. With his sheep securely fold